All right, Wes, I have a strategy that I've used time and time again to get allocated bottles for pennies on the dollar.
Oh, wow.
And when the strategy doesn't work, I'm still happy about it.
Okay, I'm taking notes.
You should take notes, and if you at home want to hear about it, then you should stick around.
Now, before we get into that secret formula for winning epic bottles, we've got to thank the epic patrons, right?
That's right.
Because every one of them is extremely allocated. Mm-hmm. The best of the best. The prized possessions of this operation right here dwells right within our core group of patrons who support and keep the engine running. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to know about the Patreon options and you want to know about why you should show up and show out on the Patreon, stick around to the end of the video and we will tell you all about it.
Yep. So, how do you get allocated bottles?
Well, from you.
No. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes.
No, relationships, point systems, I'm not a big camp out kind of guy. I know there's a lot of people that do that. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not into that. But basically relationships, building them with store owners and people and giving them my support in exchange, hoping to get a good bottle every once in a while.
Yeah. I've had some luck at auctions.
Yeah.
Auctions. Depending on what you would call an auction, but
raffles and stuff.
Well, where the store will come and you get like tickets or whatever, they draw tickets and you get to pick an order and things like that. Of course, relationships, and those are all great. And even though he doesn't support camping out, I strongly suggest you do it at least once because it's so much fun hanging out with everybody, even when the weather's bad, and it typically is.
It's always bad on those nights too.
Well, right, but it's because of the time of year the good bottles come out, right? The weather's not the best that time of year. Right. It's not deep enough into winter for it to snow here in Texas, but it's probably going to rain and it's going to be cold.
It's going to be cold.
Yeah. So, but the strategy that I am talking about is fundraiser raffles.
Oh, little charity auctions.
Some charity auctions. And so it's become very, very common for somebody who is involved with a 501c3 to somehow get bottles donated. They put a package of bottles together and then they sell raffle tickets for $5 or $10 per ticket. Yeah. And then, at the end of the raffle, they can pull all the names of everybody that bought tickets. They enter your name into a randomizer for every ticket you bought. They run a randomizer. And typically, the order that people win, you get to pick which bottle you want from the list of bottles.
Yep.
Right? And therein lies the benefit to doing what it is that I do. So when you look at the economics of these fundraisers, what you find is that if you take a bottle like a Old Weller Antique, okay, yep. Or I guess it's just Weller Antique now. It's not old anymore since they dropped the 10-year age statement. Weller Antique. That's a $49.99 bottle, so it's a $50 bottle. Okay. Now that bottle on the secondary is like 2.5, 3 times what the retail value is. So it's like $125 or $150, something like that. But in a charity situation, it will raise 2.5 to 3 times the secondary market value for the charity. Yeah. Okay, so if it's a $150 bottle, it's probably going to end up causing ticket sales somewhere around that $375 to $450 range, somewhere in there. Yep. Okay, and so it.
I mean, that's how they raise.
That's how they raise the money, right. And so you turn what would have been a $50 donation in terms of actual cash value into $450. So that's why they work. But you can kind of take advantage of the situation based on statistics. And basically the way that it works is if you're looking at a charity raffle that has 20 bottles in it, probably 75 to 90% of the value of that, the total value of all the bottles is in those top 5 bottles.
Top 5 bottles, yeah.
Right? And those top 5 bottles might be something that, if you pick it, like if you won the Van Winkle, right? An old rip, right? That person might have paid $99.99 for that bottle. They donated it, but that bottle's worth $800, right? And so you're talking about 8x. And so what I have kind of started doing is when I see these charity raffles, and I get invited to donate to a lot of them because a lot of people in the community do them, I donate big. And the reason why I donate big is because I know that if I'm one of those first 5 people that gets to pick, I'm going to end up with a bottle that's value is probably equal to or greater than what you donated. Than what I donated.
Yeah.
Right?
And you could have 2 of those 5 picks or even more.
Yeah, it's statistically that's not likely to happen, but I'm really lucky.
I've seen that happen.
And that does happen to me quite a bit. And so your goal is to be a large enough donor that you get one of the first picks, so that you can get one of those big value bottles, and you end up making your money back. But what I started doing is I'd watch a charity, and if the raffle's not going well, I would come up with a number, like $500 or $1,000 or whatever, and depending on what bottles were in there, and I'll go to the person who's running the raffle, and I'll go, hey, I want to make $1,000 matching grant. Okay. So now you get to go out and start advertising that for the next $1,000 that's donated, it's being doubled.
Yeah.
But I keep the raffle entry points.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I can turn a $500 donation into a $1,000 donation.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'm going to end up winning a bottle that's worth $500. Right?
Yep.
And I can open it up. I can put it on the wall. I can use it for videos. Right?
Yep.
If I wanted to, I could probably sell it on the secondary and get my money back and do it again. Right?
Yeah.
Or use it for another charity. And even when I don't end up winning one of the big bottles, I usually end up winning enough that it offsets part of the investment, right?
Right, yeah.
And so, like the last one that I did, it was a really big fundraiser. I think it was over $20,000. I donated $500. And I did it as a matching grant. So the raffle had slowed down, and I was like, hey, do this matching grant. I ended up winning like a sweet wheat, a liter Weller 12, and a 1792 12 year. Okay. If I sold all 3 bottles, would I get all $500 back? Yeah. Maybe not, but I raised $1,000 for the charity. Yeah. Right. And that was one that, most of the time the raffles don't do as good as that. Yeah. Right.
And that's the key, is that at the worst case scenario is that you put your money toward a good cause, right? Is that even if you walk away with a decent bottle, right, a Weller 12, and you donated up $150 to get a Weller 12, it's it's not a great investment, but you got a good bottle in exchange for giving to a good cause, and I think it's a win-win.
Ultimately, you got to be prepared that you're not going to win anything. Right. And all your money's just going to the charity. So you shouldn't be spending money that you don't have to spend. But if you have the money, I'm trying to encourage you to not be afraid to go a little bit harder in the paint when you're making your donations, because what you're going to figure out is you're really not losing that much. Right. On the whole, on average, you're really not losing that much.
You're helping humanity. Yeah. And it's definitely a better option than doing those online razzes and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Never do a razz.
Where you're paying money for a number or hoping you just lose it all and you don't get anything in return. Right. So the charity raffles are, at least lay your head down at night.
Good cause.
They're going to a good cause, right?
Yeah, you're helping somebody. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm testing my new whiskey glass that I had designed.
Why?
Well, there's a company out there that's a real Karen, and she threatened to sue us.
Really? You don't say.
Yeah, so we had been producing some traditional tulip-shaped whiskey glasses.
Oh, yes.
We never used the name.
Right. course.
But they claimed to own the shape of the glass. Mm-hmm. And since I'm just a little guy, I couldn't fight.
Right.
But do you know what that motivated us to do, Wes?
What?
To go out and design a glass that was actually made for high-proof American spirits. So the company that had the problem with us, their glass was originally designed for low-proof Scotch whiskey.
Oh, okay.
80, 86 proof, that type of thing. And you know what I had noticed? Every time I would nose a really high-proof, high-quality spirit in the United States out of this glass, all I got was ethanol burn.
Yeah, a little burn there. I felt that.
And so we went out and we designed this glass that's actually designed for those higher-proof spirits. And I'm so confident in this glass that if anybody were to go to our website and buy one, I'm offering a money-back guarantee.
Wow.
If you get that glass to your house and you find yourself one of these traditional tulip-shaped glasses and you nose a high-proof spirit side by side and you can't tell the difference, I will gladly give you your money back.
So what you're saying is they can really stick it to the Karen and support the little guy by going to bourbonrealtalk.com and ordering one of these with absolutely no risk. They could get their money back if they don't prefer it nosing it to the other?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you love small business and you like sticking it to Karens, that's the way to go.
Stick it to Karen. bourbonrealtalk.com.
Cheers.
Are these raffle tickets tax deductible?
It depends on who's doing the raffle.
Okay.
So,
Because that's even another bonus.
yeah. So in my particular case, we usually do our raffles through like Live Stay Project, and since Live Stay Project is a 501c3, all of the raffle bottles are effectively free. You're just making a donation, and we're deciding that we're gonna hand out these free giveaways as thank yous, right?
Yep.
And so in those instances, the money that you donate are even tax deductible.
That's great.
The big raffle that we did that benefited one of the leaders in the local whiskey community. We partnered with a local charity that they do that type of work, and so we were able to funnel all of those donations through them to make sure that it was all on the up and up. But you see a lot of dusty bottles in these because somebody was out in some backwoods liquor store and they found a really old bottle of Wild Turkey and they bought it for $15 or whatever, but now it's worth hundreds of dollars. When somebody finds a big find where there's a bunch of them, those people get real generous and they'll give dusties away. And then, you'll also see some big bottles. There was one time those two guys that had all of that huge collection over there on the other side of town who shall remain nameless. One of them asked me like, would an old Rip Van Winkle help? And I was like, yeah, I'd probably raise $4,000 with that. Yeah. And so he gave me an old Rip Van Winkle, and the raffle was going kind of slow, and I made a public announcement. He saw it and he donated $500. And which was the tax deductible donation, right? And then he won the old
the bottle back.
Yeah. Yeah, and when his name came up and the old Rip was still there, I didn't even call him to ask him what he wanted. I just brought his bottle back to him.
He said, "Hey, thanks for the."
And so we ended up raising over $3,000 for sure with that bottle. He spent $500 and he got at the time the bottle's worth $1,000, and he got it right back. So there's some cool stories that happen. But one of the other things is that there's a level of bottle that's like super popular, which it's mostly the Buffalo Trace bottles that are sub $50 that are worth $150, $200, $300. So you're going to see a ton of aged Taylors and Rock Hill Farms and Blantons and OWAs and Weller 12s and Stags and all of that stuff. And those are great bottles to win. Absolutely.
And some that most people may not even have had the chance to put on their collection.
Depending on where you live. So, so with all of that in mind, I do have a charity raffle going on right now.
All right. Yep.
Okay.
Let me know.
It is through livestayproject.org, which is our 501c3 that we run through the Bourbon Real Talk community. And one of our board members, Travis, who lives up in Ohio, he's decided to start a local veterans-focused charity that's specifically meant to work towards suicide prevention, called Veteran Home Guardians.
Okay.
And basically, there are a lot of veterans that are kind of they're suffering from PTSD. Some of them have mobility issues, and they're not getting much social interaction, so they're kind of locked into that homebound a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there's other veterans that are unemployed or underemployed, and they're looking for income opportunities. And so he's starting a charity that's going to pair those two groups together.
Oh, nice.
And pay
Great
for
idea.
veterans to go out and perform services at the houses of these veterans that are kind of homebound.
Yep.
And while they're there, they'll get a chance to catch up and touch base and check on each other, make sure everything's going good.
That's awesome.
But he needs money to pay for the services that he's going to have these veterans perform.
Yep.
And so we are doing a charity raffle right now. There's 24 bottles in it.
Oh,
and
wow.
there's some pretty big bottles.
Pretty good.
The top one, in my opinion, is a Michter 10-year bourbon that's signed by the master distiller. But
Okay.
there's like Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend, Weller Choose Your Perfect Bourbon, Old Charter French Oak, Blanton Straight from the Barrel, Blanton's Gold, Stag, OWA, Weller 12, Elijah Craig 18, and a handful of E.H. Taylor small batches. So there's some really good bottles in there.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to do on this one, because if you watch this show, I do a giveaway.
Yeah.
I'm asking you as a favor to this channel that I want you to give back. Okay. And what I'm asking you to do is, if you normally watch this show or if you have ever entered any of my free giveaways, I want you to go to the link in the video description, and I want you to buy at least one $5 ticket, okay?
That's nothing. Yeah.
That's nothing. Everybody should be able to afford one $5 ticket to help veterans, okay? And to support what this channel supports. And so hopefully everybody will go out there and do that. But obviously, if you've got, more money, then...
Yeah, more. I mean, if you've won one of our giveaways, it may be worth giving $10, $15, $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you've benefited from this show, and we are all about giving back to support these types of missions. And so this is a way that we can all partner together to make a difference in these veterans' lives. And so $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford to donate, is well worth it, and it will go to this great cause.
Yeah, and if you want to set up a matching grant the way that I do with, a larger amount, like $500, $1,000, whatever, shoot me an email at randy@bourbonrealtalk.com. It's RANDY@bourbonrealtalk.com.
Yeah, and if you want to further support the channel and our mission, which is very similar, you're about to hear about it here in just a second, we want to make a difference in these people's lives who feel like they're alone. We want to use bourbon as a way to connect with them and connect them with other people. And so if you love that kind of mission, think about joining our Patreon, because all of the Patreon money that comes in goes straight to that cause. And it makes this show possible. And we also have merch at bourbonrealtalk.com. Randy's a real estate agent in Dallas and Houston. So there's a ton of ways that you can support the channel, and all of those ways are in the description below.
Yeah, and Wes alluded to it, but we are about community and connection. I lost a loved one to suicide, and I saw how he was missing some of those social connections. And I wanted to help other people get connected in a way that he was missing. And I saw how whiskey was making that happen. So I thought maybe if I got you connected to whiskey do the rest of the job and get you connected to others. But when we went down that path, we did see that some of the forums online that are necessary for individuals to meet each other had some negativity in them. And so that prompted us to do two things. One, we started Bourbon Real Talk Community, which is, to my knowledge, the largest American whiskey-focused Facebook group in the world, and it is completely troll-free. Lots of great things going on in there.
Yeah.
In fact, we were able to start Live Stay Project because of all the love and support that we had inside that community. But the other thing that we learned from that negativity was, if they can hate a stranger online, we can love a stranger online. And that's why we end every episode the same way, and that's this. If you woke up this morning, you're unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that we love you. We'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk. Cheers.